continue and let's talk about Buffy because it is finally happening after all this Buffy the Vampire Slayer talk. We're finally getting a reboot and it is coming. And they say it's coming to Hulu, which, funnily enough, I actually started. I think I told y'all this that I started rewatching a lot of the old episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But yeah, now it's happening. So cue the Nerf herder guitar riff because the Buffy the Vampire Slayer reboot is in the offing. Sorry. Now, this is according to Deadline, so shout out to them for this news. So they said more than 2 decades after Buffy the Vampire Slayer ended its 7-season run, the beloved supernatural drama is eyeing a revival with a new chapter in the franchise. A follow-up series is nearing a pilot order from Hulu, with Sarah Michelle Gellar expected to star, reprising her signature role as Buffy Summers. This is according to sources. Now, Oscar winner Chloe Zhao, a self-professed, lifelong Buffy fan, is set to direct the pilot, written by Nora and Lila Zuckerman, who did the show Poker Face, which I never really watched, but I heard a lot of people say that Poker Face was good. Now, here's another thing. Chloe Zhao, if I'm not mistaken, I do believe that, didn't Chloe Zhao direct Eternals? I need to look that up. I think she directed Eternals. Excuse me. Or y'all could do a quick Google schmoogle. Let me know because when I'm in the middle of doing a story, it's hard for me to like tear away and look up people's resumes. So now, the reboot hails from Buffy the Vampire Slayer Studio, 20th Century, and Disney sibling Searchlight TV, where Zhao has been under a first look deal. Now, beyond the pilot order, they said that they hear a reboot is starting a new writer's room soon, a sign that Hulu and the studios have high expectations for this project going to series. It is unclear whether other original Buffy cast members would return. That is considered likely. Now, described as the next chapter in the Buffyverse, the new incarnation is executive produced by Gellar, Zhao, Nora, and Lila Zuckerman, as well as the original series executive producers Gail Berman and the Jackal Group, with Fran Kazooie and Kaz Kazooie via Sweet B. Also executive producing the pilot is, yes, the Queen of Country, Dolly Parton, whose company Sand Dollar was producer of the original, for those of you who did not know that. Now, Buffy creator Joss Whedon, who also wrote the 1992 movie the series was based on, has no involvement with the reboot, thank goodness, because, but Sarah has said that she didn't have the best things to say about him. And I feel like, and neither did Charisma Carpenter, because she dragged him a lot in the press and stuff as well. So it'd be nice to see. I was like, damn, they need to bring her back. But then they killed her off and Angel. But can we kind of omit that from the story? Because I love Cordelia. But I feel like if there was anybody they could bring back to the series, I would love to see Giles come back in some capacity. I would love to see Willow come back in some capacity. If y'all just had Buffy and Willow, I'd be great with that. Xander, I don't know. He's been through some things in his life. I don't even know if acting is something that he would consider wanting to come back to, especially because, once upon a time, I remember, what was it? He was on Dr. Phil or whatever, and there was somebody, he had addiction issues, and I think a lot of stuff was going on with him post the series, or may have been happening during the series. I don't know. The other actors haven't spoken, but in regards of this thing happening, I'm really excited about this because y'all know, as a huge Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan, and I remember because I was asking comments on my page, I was asking people, I'm like, are you guys actually watching? Who's still watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer in 2025? And a lot of people say, oh, they are. And then one person was in my comments said, oh, I tried watching it with my son, and he wasn't really that interested. And I guess it's because, a lot of what was going on in that era when we were watching the show, like the 90s, whatever the case is, it doesn't hold up. I'm also hoping that, can we get Eliza Dushku's Faith to come back in some capacity? Because I loved her. I would have loved to have seen her have her own spinoff. And it was sort of like her be sort of like a big redemption arc, like her trying to make amends with a lot of the stuff that she did in the past and her atoning for her sins in that way. So it's sort of like a anti-hero type of vibe. I would have loved for them to have taken that direction. Now, in regards of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I'm of two minds of this in regards of which direction I think they should go. Buffy is now a wife and a mother, and she's kind of like give it sort of like a long kiss goodnight, where she's like, oh, I'm on the PTA, and I'm a Susie Homemaker mother type, and then all of a sudden the dark forces start up again. Maybe in the town they're in, a hellmouth opens, and then things start. Her past comes back that she's kind of made peace with to go off and be a mother and do other things because we have a series of other Slayers that she's passed her power on to in that finale. So she doesn't have to be at the forefront. So you can go into that, and then something calls her back in. Maybe like one of her children has the gift. Death is your gift, as the original Slayer said. I would love to see a story in the original Slayer, who was a black woman, by the way. So I would love to see like them do that story, but I don't think that'll ever see the light of day. But in regards to that, I would love to see that, like, okay, so some dire, spooky circumstances comes around, and then she kind of gets back into the thing. Maybe that her daughter has the gift, and she's basically trying to train her because it's like, well, I can't pull you away from it because it's part of your destiny. I'm gonna just get you ready for whatever's coming. And then her daughter sees her mother kind of doing something or whatever, and she finds out. I don't know. They'll have to work it out that way. It's either that story, or now Buffy has taken on the role of a watcher. So she is the female. I don't want to say female male stuff. That gets annoying. She's basically the Giles of the show. So I feel like maybe they could do something like that. I hope they don't go in a direction where it's very Hogwarts, where it's just like, oh yeah, now she's teaching a school of slayers and all that other stuff. Like, but there's too many shows coming around where they're kind of playing into this whole academy thing where you're training children, because they have, like, we got Harry Potter being rebooted. We have, I think it was another show they were talking about, there was going to be like a school of children with supernatural powers or something or another. I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but I don't want them to go in that direction. But if there's a way that it's like Buffy is now a watcher, and she kind of gets to do way more than what Giles did, which never made sense to me. How Giles always got his behind beat, but he was the Ripper at one point. So it was sort of like, it felt like maybe that was sort of like an afterthought, that wasn't something that was part of his backstory from the beginning, where we were just like, you know what, we got to give him something to do, because now he's just, regular Giles who's in the books and helping Buffy out with her training and stuff. But there was never that bit of badassery there until there was like one episode where they kind of showed that side of him, because I was like, that doesn't really make sense because he's getting his behind beat. But nevertheless, that little snafu in the situation. I'm actually glad that we're getting a Buffy reboot now, in whatever capacity. I have no idea, but Sarah, you better start getting your stretches in, because yeah, you got to get back into that taekwondo that you was doing with the show. And I really hope that this show introduces the next generation to an awesome franchise, because Buffy the Vampire Slayer is a great franchise that should continue to be explored. I kind of wish they would have went in the direction of like rebooting it with a new actress like a Zendaya or something, but if Sarah Michelle Gellar is game and she's ready to come back and do and fill those shoes, because I feel like we're in the era of nostalgia, which I think also is going to play into the next Scream 7 movie. I'm going to say my theories for that tomorrow when I talk about Ethan Embry now being added to the cast and all the latest stuff that's coming out about Scream 7. But for the most part, I feel like we're in this era of, like, I guess once you get into your late 30s, into your 40s, once that 20 plus or 30 plus period passes in film or whatever, that we get into this nostalgia period where we start looking back at a lot of old shows, and then they want to reboot it. Look, we're about to get a reboot of Little House on the Damn Prairie. I just heard that the other day. So there's a lot of stuff that's happening. Everything that's old is new again, apparently. So that's the latest news on Sarah Michelle Gellar coming back for Buffy the Vampire Slayer. There's no big details on what the plot is or anything, but yeah, Sarah's excited. I'm excited. And so now I want to hear from you guys. Are you excited that we're getting a brand new reboot of Buffy the Vampire Slayer? They're talking about that they're ready to go film the pilot. They already got a director. Sarah's ready to come back. She's out here working, and I'm glad that we see Miss Gellar out here doing her thing yet again. So let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below.